With the prison one, what happened, I cut it to something else, knew that it was temp, knew we weren't really happy with it, but really weren't sure how we wanted to go. And then Vince came in for his producer's cut, and he's like, that morning he had like been driving to work and he was listening to satellite radio and some 40s station. And he's like, hey, you know, I was listening to this song on the way in, and then he had the assistant get it off iTunes or something like that, and just, you know, Kelley, just drop that in, what do you think? And I was all over it because it was something that you didn't expect. You know, I was like, and it was funny, we showed my assistant at the time, this was actually his last show that he did of Breaking Bad. He was such a super fan, but he decided he wanted to retire. I was like, how can you do that? We only have 8 episodes left. How can you're the biggest fan in the world? He's like, I don't want to go home so late anymore. I'm like, you know. So, but yeah, we showed it to him, and he's like, I don't know how I feel about it. And I said, I love it because it totally is against the grain. And it really, really is so interesting the way it juxtaposes Walt, you know, because it's really all about what Walt did. And it's so not what you'd expect to hear over a prison, you know, all these people dying in prison and getting killed and set on fire and stuff like that. So I loved it.
And how did the timing it to 2 minutes? How did that come up?
That actually was not. That was actually me going off book, but I can't take total credit for it. But it was not written that way. I mean, the prison montage was written to be a montage, but it wasn't necessarily written to be 2 minutes by the clock. And I think the lawyer part of it, where the lawyer gets killed, was not actually supposed to be part of the montage. What happened was, when I called Thomas Golubic to get some music for it, we were talking about it, and the one thing that he was talking about, he said, well, you know, it might be cool to go against the grain, sort of like, you know, Scorsese did in Goodfellas with the Layla piano exit. And I'm like, oh yeah, because, you know, the piano exit, I found out much later, I think I found out in the last couple of weeks, that Scorsese and Thelma were always going to use the piano exit for all those people turning up dead in that movie, which it was in an interview that I read a couple of weeks ago. I was like, wow, you know, because I thought that, you know, but she said that he had actually planned certain shots to be at certain points, which was cool. But the idea, you know, the thought process to actually go in a different way, on a different grain, and use something like that, you know, for such gruesome stuff. And so when he talked about that, I was like, yeah, that's cool. So some of the stuff that he sent me was not what you expect. It was like some vocals. It just wasn't 40s Nat King Cole. It was a little bit more current, and, you know, but it was different. And I liked it. And so I end up, you know, cutting, you know, to it, and we end up swapping it later. But it was funny because that's when he mentioned, hey, you know, it'd be really cool if you could make it work 2 minutes actually by the clock. And I'm like, ooh, you know, and I was like, challenge, you know. And so it was his idea. So I'd love to take credit for it, but I will always give credit where credit's due. And it was his idea. But it was really cool because I was like, I think I can actually make this work. And it was definitely going a little off book. And I was like, you know, but I was ready to like sell it to the writers. I thought that they'd think it was a good idea. You know, I have ultimate respect for Moira Walley-Beckett, who wrote the script. Ultimate respect for Michelle MacLaren, who directed it. And, you know, they've always been like really nice to me and saying, you know, try, whatever you think, try it. I mean, if they don't like it, you can always go back and redo it. You know, so I tried it and it worked. Now, once we put the Nat King Cole song in it, it's not quite 2 minutes. I think we lost a little bit of time because of the way that song had to, the way we had to make an edit. Our music editor, actually, because I wasn't skilled enough to make the music edit in it, but they actually had to make an edit in the song
it's much longer than 2
just to
minutes?
get it to end where we needed to end. And yeah, so I think it maybe times out at like 1:55 or something like. It's close. It's not exactly 2 minutes. But for a long time, it was hitting right at 2 minutes. I was really stoked. And then when I presented it, you know, I showed it to them and I said, here's, you know, what I did. And they were like, that's way cool, way cool. They didn't even think about it. And, you know, I never got any feedback that, you know, either Moira or Michelle were you know, unhappy. They never changed it. I mean, they changed small things internally, but they never changed the idea of it. You know, they were cool with it, so.